Absolutely. Now, obviously, there's a part of us that hates to see kids leave the great state of Texas, but very happy for all of them. But let's centralize this down into our schools here, and we will start off with the Texas Longhorns. And I kind of want to ask you, we talked about on TFT how National Signing Day maybe doesn't have that same zing that it used to have because of all the early commitments. So from early signing day, which happened obviously during the state championships, to now, when you look at Texas, what has shifted, what has changed, and obviously a lot has changed with that program.
Well, they did pick up a commitment from Brian Rudder, wide receiver Keith Ron Lee. He's a guy who's just outside the Hot 100, but a really special wide receiver prospect, a guy who on tape, when you watch it, what stands out to him is he has vertical ability and great leaping ability to high point the football. He has the athleticism to make special plays. And if you've been a fan of Alabama's offense at all the last couple years under Coach Sark, you're going to see that he has a way to find the receiver in that offense. And he's one of those guys like a Jalen Waddle who can make plays up and down the field. And, of course, they had the commitment from David Abiara today from Mansfield Legacy, the signing. He was down to, I think, basically 2 schools after decommitting from Notre Dame, and that was Oklahoma and Texas. So the fact that they were able to get him is a huge win in the Red River rivalry section of recruiting. And to be honest, Texas has opened a lot of eyes in 2022. They landed a commitment this week from Jadon Blue, one of the top running backs in the entire state and the entire country, from Klein Kane. I think he draws some comparisons to Ezekiel Elliott, who the running back coach at Texas coached at Ohio State, Stan Drayton, when he was there. They've landed a commitment from Armani Winfield, who ironically was down to Ohio State and Texas as probably his top 2 schools in the chase for him. And he's an elite wide receiver prospect in his own right. He committed during the national championship game, which was a pretty cool story in and of itself. At halftime, he decided, wow, I'm watching this offense, and I think
I like what they're doing.
I think I can see myself here. So let's go ahead and pull the trigger. This is where I want to play. I want to play for Coach Sark and his offense going forward. So a lot of moves are being made by that staff, but they still did continue to add some guys down the home stretch here, especially with Lee and Abiara, and then starting to pick up key pieces in 2022 as well.
And when you look, obviously, anytime that a new coach comes in and it's a first year, there's a bunch of transition. We talked about it a little bit earlier that Coach Sark seems like the type of person that's going to enjoy having that blank slate to start and try to plug in those pieces that he really needs to be successful. When you look at the 2021 class as a whole that Texas has gotten, who would you say just really stands out as someone that you can see being that next level athlete of the Texas program?
Oh, Tavion Sanders is the guy. We've had a lot of fun watching him. I mean, of course, you're going to see him right here on the cover of the DCTF Rising magazine. He's a freak athlete. He's played all over on both sides of the football at Denton Ryan, and he's a special player, I think, at defensive end moving forward. People have him rated anywhere from athlete to tight end to defensive end. I particularly like him on the defensive side of the football. And when I look back in retrospect to what the Texas Longhorns signed in the early signing period and then closed with now today, that defensive front, I think, is what is going to be special about this class, because it's headlined by Sanders, a 5-star, an easy call 5-star guy. He's going to draw comparisons to Myles Garrett, so he's that type of dude. And then you're going to sprinkle in a Byron Murphy from DeSoto, who I've actually compared a little bit to Ed Oliver. He's not nearly rated as high as Ed Oliver, but he brings a lot of the same qualities to the table as Ed Oliver. Really quick off the football. He's a lot to handle for offensive linemen, and he plays with a big motor. And Jordan Thomas is a guy who goes a little bit underneath the radar sometimes because he missed his entire junior season due to an injury, so he was a little bit behind the ball, as we were to say, behind the 8 ball a little bit in his development. But at 6'3", 240 pounds, he's a strong side defensive end who can be a versatile weapon up front. So I think you've got 4 defensive linemen in that class who are all 4 stars and above or at that 4-star level who can really play, and they signed the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year and 4-star running back Jonathan Brooks, who's going to be a great complement to Bijan Robinson in that offense. So I think that's the things that kind of stand out to me when discussing the Texas Longhorns 2021 class.